Hi everyone, welcome to my channel IT Knowledge Hub, where we learn IT skills. This is the first video of Palo Alto Firewall series. I'll make the complete series on Palo Alto Firewall, basic to advanced, including deployment, configuration, and troubleshooting. And finally, I'll make 2 to 3 videos and interview questions and their answers so that it would be helpful for everyone who is looking for the job or who is trying to switch their jobs in this industry. So this is the first video on basic introduction of firewall and Palo Alto firewall. So let's get started. So first we need to understand what is a firewall and what it does. So firewall is a network security system. It could be in the form of hardware or it could be in the form of software that monitor and control incoming and outgoing traffic, network traffic based on predefined security rules. So basically, we have the two form of firewall. One is the hardware firewall, where we get in the form of hardware, or in the form of software, where we deploy the VM on any of the hypervisor. It could be the ESXi hypervisor, or it could be Hyper-V, any of the hypervisor. We just deploy a software of firewall on any of the hypervisor. So it also gives us the capability to control our network, to block all the unwanted things, unwanted traffic or unauthorized access and all. It gives the same similar kind of capability that hardware gives. Just the difference would be there would not be any hardware. We will be just deploying the VM on hypervisor. So the firewall basically allows and block the traffic on the basis of security policy, security rules. The admin defines the security rules on the behalf of security rule. It allow the traffic or block the traffic. This applies on all the incoming and outgoing network traffic. So this is the major feature of firewall. Apart from that, it also does NATing. It also does what do we call SSL decryption and all layer 7 inspection. All this we will discuss in detail in further videos. So the next it allow or block the network traffic. It control basically the incoming and outgoing network traffics, and it blocks unauthorized access. So it's secure with this all this why we do it. All this is to secure our network. And in simple word, firewall act as a security guard to secure our network. So let's move on to the next slide. Next, what is difference between traditional firewall and next generation firewall? So this traditional firewall, there were the capability to block or allow the traffic on the basis of IP addresses and port number. On the basis of IP and port number, we can filter the traffic. We can allow the traffic or we can block the traffic. And there were very limited visibility on the logs and all. So the now we are not using anywhere this traditional firewall, but we need to understand what it used to do. And the next NGFW. This NGFW is the next generation firewall where we have the complete visibility on network traffic, what kind of traffic is getting allowed, what kind of traffic is getting blocked, and from which policy this traffic has allowed and this traffic has blocked. So complete visibility we have in the next generation firewall, and we have advanced level of filtering on the basis of user ID or the applications. So on the basis of particular user, we can give a particular access. So if we want to give a particular access to only to IT engineers, we can give them on the basis of user ID. So all this advanced feature we do have in next generation firewall that we can do with next generation firewall. We will learn all this user ID application and all. We will learn this in detail in further videos. So let's move on to next slide. So what is Palo Alto firewall here? So Palo Alto firewall is also a next generation firewall. It provides the application level security and user-based access control. The user ID features are there in Palo Alto Firewall as well. So we can block and allow the traffic on the basis of user ID. There is advanced threat protection, antivirus, anti-malware, everything is there. So we can block the attacks and all. So we will discuss in detail this. So there are some key features that Palo Alto provides. This application identification, user ID, content ID, URL filtering, wildfire. So this application identification is basically to identify the application, what kind of application is user is trying to access. So this application identification is this. User ID is again we can provide the access on the basis of user. Let's suppose we have 1000 users and we want to give 10 of the users to access facebook.com. So we can do on the basis of user ID. So this is the these are the features basically. So we will discuss in detail. Content ID and threat prevention. Again, this all this attack and all we can prevent it. URL filtering. We can filter all this URL on the basis of category, on the basis of category, like how we want to block the social media. So we can block this through the URL category. So social media we want to block, we can block all this social media. Even though we want to block all the social media but want to allow Instagram, that also we can do it. And this application identification, there is also advanced level of feature, like we want to allow the Facebook chat, but we want to block the Facebook uh, complete page. So that also we can do it through the application identification. There are a lot of things in application identification that we will discuss later. Wildfire advanced malware protection. This we call it as a zero-day attack. So unknown attack kind of thing. This wildfire can detect and prevent our infrastructure from unknown kind of attack, or this is also called zero-day attack. So let's move on to the next slide. In Palo Alto, we have the zone concept. Zone is nothing, it's a logical group of interface. So we need to put uh, all these interfaces or we need to align the interfaces in any of the zone. So these are the general naming that we use: trust, LAN, untrust, internet, or WAN. Anything we use. DMG is the public server where we keep all the servers in our infrastructure. So these are the common naming that we use, and we need to put the interfaces in any of the zone to work. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Security policy. This is the important thing. Without this, we can't allow any traffic, we can't drop any packet or deny any traffic. So this is the way. So to allow any packet, allow any traffic on the basis of policy, security policy, only firewall takes the decision that this should be allowed, this packet should be allowed, or this packet should be dropped. So this is the important thing in the firewall. We will configure all this. We will do the lab and we'll configure everything there. So there is the basically the option: source zone, destination zone, application, and IP addresses. Multiple options are there. These are the basic options: source zone, destination zone, application, and all. So in the action we can put action, allow or deny or drop. So there is the option. So we will go with this when we will be doing the lab. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is the NAT. This is again the important thing when we go on internet, when user try to access any public IP or the public website like google.com, anything onto the internet. This NAT provides plays an important role, because NAT is the way to translate the IP addresses. Whenever user try to access any public website over the internet, it basically translate this NAT translate the private IP into the public. we need to define the NAT policy. There is an option to define the NAT policy on a firewall. So on the basis of NAT policy, it like basically translate the IP addresses, private IP into the public IP. How it does? Let's suppose there is a user. This is behind the firewall. This you can just consider it as a Palo Alto firewall. And there some it is connected to the internet, and somewhere it is connected. There is a server, you can assume it as a Google server. If user having some IP address, private range of IP address, 192 series of IP addresses, and Google would have some public IP, let's suppose 100 dot something, or this is connected with Palo Alto. Palo Alto WAN interfaces would have also the public IP, let's suppose 34 something. So whenever user try to access this Google server, so this request goes to Palo Alto. Palo Alto checks the NAT policy here. On the basis of NAT policy, it translates this private IP 192 into this 34 series of IP, that is a public IP, and it maintain a table over on their devices on Palo Alto, and it say send the request to Google server. When the Google server responds back, there also it will check the table, and accordingly it will allow the traffic to user. So this is the way to access any public public server or the internet facing website using this NAT. So this NAT plays an important role when user try to access or go onto the internet. So again, this is mandatory for the internet access. So we need to create the NAT rule separately. Apart from the security policy and all, we need to create the NAT rule if we want to allow uh, like traffic over the internet. So let's move on to the another slide. So app ID, this is the really important or the important feature of Palo Alto that I said application identification. Using this, we can allow the Facebook page, and we want to block the Facebook chat. So that also we can do it using the application identification. So all this feature we do have with the Palo Alto. So if there is a port swap, in that case also with this Palo Alto will be able to identify the actual application. So this is the way to allow the traffic or block the traffic on the basis of application. So let's move on to the next slide. We'll discuss all this application identification and everything we will discuss in detail. So let's move on to the next slide. So logs and monitoring again. We have the better visibility in next generation firewall. So we can check all the logs, traffic logs, threat logs, URL filtering logs. So this basically give you complete visibility what is happening in your infrastructure. If something is getting allowed, so which policy it is hitting, and which policy, by which policy this traffic is getting allowed. Threat logs and all give you the like complete visibility on the attacks and all, virus attacks and all. And URL filtering, URL logs gives you what kind of URL is getting allowed. URL filtering, if we have like configured URL filtering, in that case we can get everything there in the URL logs. So apart from all three logs, there are multiple logs as well that generates over the firewall. We will check, we will go through all these logs when we will be doing the lab. So this is all about this firewall and next generation firewall, including Palo Alto firewall. This is the summary of firewall. This Palo Alto firewall is really a next generation firewall, which gives us the better visibility, clear visibility over the infrastructure, what is happening in our infrastructure. So all this visibility we do have on Palo Alto firewall. So it provides us the application-based security, and it protect our infrastructure basically. So this is all about this firewall. Thank you for watching this video.